Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there. How you doing? It's Russ here from Porky's Corner, the voice of hardcore boxing. Today, I'm joined by Kent from Belfast in Northern Ireland. Is that correct, Kent?
Yep, that's it, Russell.
Kent is known in boxing circles as the hardcore's hardcore. If you think I'm bad, and Terry Rico and Chris Ward and Big Viv and all them guys, Carl Wright, we are nothing on this man here. We are not worthy, Kent. How are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, Russell. Yeah, going well.
What are you on with?
Just getting on with it. Just getting on with things. Lockdown's easing, so hopefully getting back to some sort of normality again.
Normality, if there even is such a word.
If there's ever going to be a normality again.
A lot's gone on since we last spoke. What did you think about the Sky Show at the weekend, Kent?
So the good thing about it was, I have to be honest, I've been on this channel and I've been talking about titles, and I've been talking about everybody's bypassing British, come off European titles.
Yeah.
That show had 3 European title fights and it had an English title fight, which is good. So they're kind of using proper titles to get proper rankings. I thought, it was probably, it's not any fault of the fighters who won, but I think it was the poorest opposition I've seen in European title fights. Usually when you have a European title fight, you can see the step up in class of fighter.
Yeah.
And I just seen guys that were just there to get through. Richards, the guy that fought Richards, had lost 5 of his last 10. That's not really a title contender. Tommy McCarthy's was 4 of 10, which is not their fault. They're there just to fight whoever's there in front of them, and they did a good job on them. So we had Dalton Smith against Appleyard, which I thought the corner should have pulled Appleyard out a round or 2 before, because he was getting hit with every shot in the book. And even Dalton Smith turned around and looked at the referee as if this, and the corner, as if to say, he was going to help this guy here. So I thought Mark Lyson's performance in that fight was terrible. I didn't see him once go over to the corner and say to Steffi Bull here, I'm only giving him one more round, or make sure you're keeping an eye on him. But I didn't see anything like that at all. I thought it was terrible. I thought I felt sorry for the guy because he was so brave and he kept trying to fight back. He was getting hit with absolutely every shot in the book. I thought it was a bad performance from the corner, and I thought it was a terrible performance from the referee.
Yeah.
The best part of the night was, to be honest, the best part of the night was after the main attraction. I actually turned it off because for the last 3 years we've been hearing how good Joshua Buatsi is, how talented he is, what a world-class fighter he is, what talent he's going to do. He hasn't stepped up yet. He fought a guy who had only beaten 2 winning fighters with winning records. I know he's a nice guy. I know he likes going back home. I know he's a good fighter. I want to see him now in a proper fight. Calm Johnson fought Batirev or Beerbeef or whatever they call him on probably the same level of his career. We have Anthony Yard, who had no real amateur career and jumped up and fought Kovalev in Russia. We have got Spider Richards jumped in last week against Bivol, who's a monster at that weight. And we had Linton Arthur beat Anthony Yard with one hand. Joshua Buatsi has had a better build up in all Emmons amateur ways. He's meant to be this skilled fighter. I want to see him in a world title fight. I don't want to see him fighting some guy from the other side of the world. I actually turned it over and watched Bullseye on Challenge TV from 1982.
You can't beat a bit of bully.
No. So I am not watching Joshua Buatsi. I'm not saying I don't like him. I am not watching Joshua Buatsi yet until he's in a meaningful fight or a world title fight.
Right. Well, you spoke very elegantly about that show there, right? But I can't speak as eloquently as that, so I'm just going to cut them down like cheese. Joshua Buatsi is dog shite. He's just been in with a guy, as you just said, 15-0, but he's only beat 2 with winning records. So the guy is a cream puff. He's supposed to cut him down like cheese. But yeah, we've got Johnny the Company Man Nelson saying that Virgil Hunter is currently the world's best trainer in the sport of boxing. But yet we only got to see Virgil Hunter's expertise for 10 minutes of the fight. But yet the fighting a cream puff, somebody that he's supposed to chop down like a little tree, like a little crab tree that you can kick down when it's a month old. Embarrassing, right? Joshua Buatsi, I'm not into him. I don't like him. I think he's a prick. He's strutting about, giving it all this mini AJ crap. Stay humble, be humble, and all this, mate. Fight somebody that's got a heartbeat, you shithouse. Otherwise, I'm not interested in him.
I'm done with it. I want to see him fight someone like Hosea Burton, who's a good fighter. You know, like so Hosea Burton went and fought in that golden contract. He went and fought in Balatas's backyard. And I want to see him fight someone like that. I want to see him in a proper fight. You know, I give the card 3 out of 10. 3 out of 10. And the reason I give it that is because the most entertaining thing of the night was Natasha Jonas tearing strips of scripted Johnny Nelson. It's either Johnny Nelson's been scripted or he just hasn't a clue about boxing. And I actually think now, see this whole excuse, some of the stuff Johnny says is scripted. I don't agree with it. I think that's an excuse. I think he's so far out of touch with actually what's going on in boxing. I think he hasn't a clue. And to say that Callum Johnson is a step down for Joshua Buatsi it's absurd. It's absurd. I was flabbergasted at it. I couldn't believe it. I had to rewind it on catch up and see if he actually was hallucinating or did he say it? And he did say it, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And it's great to see actually someone on Sky with an opinion now. Natasha had an opinion, and she wasn't afraid to voice it, which was the most entertaining part of the night for me.
Right, let me just stop you there. Right, Callum Johnson, his teammate. He's fought Beater Beef, yeah, who's the only guy in the sport of boxing who's a world champion, and he's knocked everybody out. So he's the biggest puncher in the sport, pound for pound. Are we right?
Yeah.
Callum Johnson got in with him, dropped him, but he lost in a tear-up. The only thing that Joshua Buatsi's torn up, it's toilet roll when he wipes his arse at night. That's the only thing he's done, mate. He's not torn nothing up. He's not ripping shit up Snoop Doggy style with Callum Johnson, is he? So Natasha Jonas to come out and defend her teammate, well done. And Johnny Nelson, listen, mate, what can we say about him, Johnny Nelson, right? His tongue is so far up Sky's arse, he needs it amputating, mate. He needs it removing from Sky's top brass's arsehole.
You know, Johnny Nelson got a world title fight in Sheffield when he sold no tickets against Carlos Stallone and but he actually run for the 12 rounds and didn't even try and win the fight and got a draw. I don't even know how he got a draw in that fight. You know, Johnny Nelson retired because he was terrified of fighting Enzo Macronelli. And I remember he went down. I remember there was a vignette of him going down and taking him on the pads and giving him this coaching session. And I thought it was, as a world champion of that weight, of that title, doing that with his number one contender, I thought it was cringeworthy. So yeah, Johnny's company man through and through. They're all jockeying for position.
Just about to say that. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was just about to say they're all jockeying for position, but I was going to say scrambling. Sorry, they're all scrambling for position because they don't know if Eddie wants them at DAZN or what's happening with Sky. So they all look like they were all on edge. But fair play to Natasha Jonas. But what I do want to say, Ken, and I need your advice on this. I hadn't decided whether to take round a box of milk tray or flowers for Natasha Jonas. What do you think, Ken?
Both.
Which do you think she'll like?
Both. Just get her both.
Reckon? I might just do that. I might just do it. Do you reckon I should put the splash of the old Brute on?
No, you should go with the Matchroom aftershave.
Old Spice.
The old Matchroom aftershave that they used to sell in the 80s. Steve Davis used to promote it.
Basically, it was insignia in a Matchroom box, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Remember that? Insignia. I used to put it on my spot. I used to put it on my spots at school when I was in Edlow Comp.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, but they're all jockeying for position. It looks now that when they get airtime, they're looking to just maximize on their airtime and say something that gets them a clip on Sky Sports Box on YouTube. That's what it looks like. They're looking to get the highlight reel commentary clip.
Looking for sound bites all tanking, aren't they? Instead of talking boxing.
That for me was the most entertaining part of the card. Now I did think the Cunningham Yapai fight was great. I like Cunningham. I like Craig Cunningham. He's one of those guys that he's fought as the away fighter probably most of his career. He's fought like Cerise Bellotti and that there, and it's good to see a guy like that, with his losses, keeping at it and getting a good win. So fair play to him. That was good to see. But the card as a whole, I'm pushed to give 4 out of 10, probably 3.5, 4 out of 10. And that's basically just because Natasha Jonas just put it on Johnny Nelson. And the funniest thing about it was the way she looked at him. The way she looked at him was just comedy gold. She was looking at him like he had 10 heads. She was as flabbergasted as the viewers. So she was, which was so funny. I thought it was great how she handled it.
Let me just touch on something here, right? We've got Joshua Buatsi. He's from Nigeria, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't really give a hoot about him, right? He's from Nigeria. Where's Virgil Hunter?
He's American.
Right, but Joshua Buatsi's got a British passport, and Anthony Joshua signed him, and his family, his mum and dad are from Nigeria, yeah? This is what we're saying, yeah?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's got a British passport as well, and he's signed Buatsi. Buatsi's signed to Anthony Joshua, and he gets to headline on Sky against Bin Men. Right, this is where we're going with this, right, aren't we? A Campbell Hatton job, innit? Campbell Hatton job.
The guy had no balance. He looked petrified of getting hit, and he was just throwing shots on instinct. Like he wasn't like setting shots ahead. He was just throwing shots when Joshua Buatsi was throwing at him. He had no real offense or defense, and we seen how he was dispatched at the end. Somebody needs to look at this. I remember years back when Sky would have pulled fights, they wouldn't have let fights go ahead. Barney Francis was very, very strict about title fights and about who they were bringing over. I think from Barney Francis has left Sky, Matchroom, Eddie Hearn is just dictating all the content and they're just signing it off. Someone's going to get hurt.
Right. Well, Callum Johnson should fight the guy who Boaz's just fought. He should fight him now on a Bricktop show and flatten him in one round just to prove a point. And then we can build the Joshua Boazzi fight up and the Callum Johnson fight, because Joshua Boazzi, they offered it Callum Johnson. Joe Gallagher said, yes, please. They offered him 80 grand. Yes, please. They then come back with an offer. Do you want the fight? Yeah, 40 grand. But yet, Boazzi's on 160 a fight, but his 160 wasn't getting half to 80. But why is he on 160 a fight? Fighting guys like that? Because I tell you what, mate, what am I about? 17 pound off light heavyweight. I'll knock this 17 pound off and I'll go flog that guy that Boazzi's just fought. One-handed. Good.
You know, you look at the amateur, they constantly talk about the amateur pedigree of these guys. And the amateur pedigree is probably some of the amateur fights they had at the end of their career were harder opposition than they're fighting at 14 fights. It just doesn't make sense. The reason he's on that money, you know, it's the whole AJ management thing. He's in that management. You know, AJ's got clout there with the broadcaster because they're terrified of him leaving them. So he can basically call the shots on the purses just to keep AJ at Sky. And to be honest, Russell, I actually would not want to see that guy fight Callum Johnson. I think it would be, you couldn't let Callum Johnson in the same ring as Dos Santos. There's no way.
Why not? It's good enough for Joshua Boazzi and the narrative. Let me just stop you there. None of these YouTubers have got access, said a word about a guy going in with a supposed, well, he's a world ranked guy, isn't he? What's he ranked with? Number 2?
Number 2 WBA.
So we've got a number 2 WBA world ranked guy, probably 6 months away from a world title shot, fighting a guy who's only got 2 wins of a men winning records, and none of them YouTubers said a word. None of them. That Umar, Rob Tebbett, Coogan, Michelle Phelps, all across the board, none of them said a dicky bird. Am I right?
Yeah.
Right. Why is that? Why is that? I'll tell you why that is. Because they all want access. They're all putting their heads down and they're all just getting on with it. That's why. None of them are saying a word, because they've all become too pally with everybody. Instead of being professional and saying, here, microphone. Hang on, I've got a poking microphone here. Sticking microphone in somebody's face. Here you are. I don't need to stick this in. I just stand in front of them. My camera's got an 18-foot microphone. All this with microphone, it's all a load of shit. You don't need a microphone. You see these on top of your cameras? They pick up for 18 to 24 feet. And they're always stood near them with 3 or 4 foot, aren't they? So why do they all have a microphone? It's all for show. But let me just say this. Nobody is saying, here, Eddie, come on, Eddie. Dos Santos, you're having a laugh, aren't you? What did Eddie say? Tell you what, Coo, this Santos is really up for this. I've got a squeaky bum. This guy was shocking. He was a journeyman that had just fought. Nobody could even find any fights about him. Nobody's saying a word. They're all just letting it go. The bookies got it right, though, didn't they? You put a tenner on, you would have won 12 quid if it were an accumulator, wouldn't you? The only fight that went against it all was Jason Cunningham against Yafai, wasn't it? Jason Cunningham upset the apple cart fighting Flag for Donny. But the rest of it were garbage, but nobody said a word, did they? That Dos Santos, 750 to 1 to win on points. Sky Bet. Sky headline show. Are you having a fucking laugh? It's another video I'm not getting paid for now. Look, are you having a laugh, right? Come on, 750 to 1. 750 to 1.
And the scary thing about it was, Russell, that it was actually a sanctioned WBA international fight.
What? I thought he was just carrying that belt to the ring for show. You want a belt here? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll get his wrist belt here. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. You see this here? You see this? I'll do a Tony Soprano on him. Take the belt to him and whip him. I'm telling you now, mate. 750 to 1. It's sanctioned. Listen, the WBA is the worst sanctioning body to ever be, and it's the oldest sanctioning body, isn't it? It's older than WBC,
Yes.
isn't it? The WBA is now the worst. Gilberto Mendoza, you are a shithouse. You're killing the sport of boxing, and you can't even see it, can you? And you're breaking my heart.
They have been doing interim. So I've got a couple of facts. So the oldest ever interim title fight was a WBC title, and it was in 1983, and it was a flyweight. And now the WBA have been doing interim title fights since 1999. So the heavyweight division. So they've got Fraser Quinto, who is near 50, is champion in recess.
Fraser Quinto, what weight's that?
Yeah.
Heavy.
Heavyweight. He is number one contender. He's went to court.
He's fat as a pig. He's fat as a pig, Michelin man.
You've got Manuel Char, who will come to that later, who is champion in recess.
Yeah.
You've got Trevor Bryant, who fought a guy, won the WBA regular title, who was knocked out his fight before that against Joe Joyce.
Yeah.
So at one stage, way back in the bubble, Lovejoy was rated number 15 by the WBA. Did you see the Manuel Char Lovejoy fight at the weekend? It was...
Yeah. The guy of 300 and odd pound who were going to fight White Rhino.
He was 22 stone, and it looked like a poor amateur taking a kid round in a skills bout. That's how bad it was, in a basement.
Well, when I seen him, I thought, Jesus, 22 Clem. I used to be 28 Clem, and I thought I were all right. I must have looked a right mess.
It was, I'll say, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It looked like the fight actually looked like it was in slow motion. Lovejoy was 20-0 or 22-22. I looked at his record. I actually think everybody on that record doesn't even exist. I think honestly, it looked like he had just bought a record of someone with fake birth certificates. It looked like he had never been in a boxing ring in his life. It was absolutely terrible. It was, and I'm sure Dave Allen is actually kicking himself. Dave Allen is probably hitting his head off a brick wall at the fact that he missed out on that fight. It would have been so easy.
Well, Dave Allen nearly nearly pull the Lovejoy off, didn't he? He were only pulling the same moves that Lovejoy were pulling, wasn't he? Let's have it right. And Don King fucking ripped it all up, didn't he?
Yeah. Don King, I believe Don King sent them in there just as to see what way that Matchroom deal with contracts and what type of bait they had. And once Don King was involved in that, Eddie backed off. Eddie broke the world record for jogging backwards when he knew Don King was involved there.
Do you know when Lovejoy were in bubble with Dave Allen and them, they reckon they were going back to sit down because they had like a cafeteria and that. He had about 6 chicken wings on his plate. Imagine that. 6 chicken wings. No mash, no veg, no, just chicken wings. Do you know what I mean?
Chicken lick and Lovejoy.
Well, they like fried chicken, don't they? Them lot from America, don't they? Do you know what I mean?
Well,
So,
he was 22 stone, so there's obviously problems in nutrition. He didn't even come with a coach
problems
or a
in
trainer
nutrition.
or a second.
Problems with nutrition. Problems with nutrition. You haven't like. Do you know what he needs? A padlock on fridge, mate.
Oh,
Problems with nutrition.
It was terrible. It was the worst ever fight I have. It's the worst ever heavyweight fight I've ever seen. I remember a fight years back. Danny Williams fought a guy from the West Indies, Eigen Dawn or something like that, and he was like 20 something and 0 and had the similar type of record, and he got stopped, and it was terrible. It was a Frank Warren show. It was similar to that. It was so bad. It looked like it was in a dungeon. It looked like Zed's dungeon from Pulp Fiction. It was filmed in. It was so bad. Char for me, is he's another one. He's another one of these guys that, he's got one of these records. He was knocked out by cruiserweights, and then he goes and gets a WBA title shot and wins it.
Do you know that Char? I don't like him. He's a knobhead. He's a knobhead. Him. I don't like. He carries off like he's a knob. All right.
The diamond boy.
He needs to get out of boxing and stop being a knob. But all right then. So we've covered that. We've covered all that show. Jason Cunningham won European title. He's from Woodlands in Doncaster, so we have to give him a bit of respect. We have to give Steffi Bull some respect because he got him the opportunity. He was going to retire if he lost, Jason. So
that's a brilliant achievement for the two of them. The guy's been an away fighter his whole career.
Yeah.
He has fought everyone. He took Michael Conlan the distance. I'll say that's a Cinderella story, and I hope that he gets a good payday next and he's secure with it.
Yeah, I do. I hope he. I used to sit when I go home. I used to see him. He usually gets off at Conisbrough train station and walks down to Steffie's gym because it's only walking distance down at Main Road. But what Jason Cunningham needs now, Jason, you need to go see your manager, Steffi Bull. First of all, tell Steffi to stop wearing women's knickers, and second of all, tell him to buy you some razors and have a shave because you look like you've been dug up. All right. But other than that, we spoke about Natasha Jonas and how much we think she's gorgeous and a fantastic presenter and how much we want Anna Woolhouse out of Dodge. Anna Woolhouse, get your clogs and get gone. We know you've been with Jamie Redknapp, Barney Francis, and God knows who else. Don't sleep your way to the top, you little slag. Get your stuff and get gone. And give Natasha Jonas a job there because she's 10 times better than you. Plus, you know fuck all about boxing. What else haven't we covered?
Last night, there was the big announcement about what we have been talking about in this channel for months about the court case, the Deontay Wilder court case.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the Deontay Wilder. What have I been saying for 15 months? I feel vindicated today, actually. I've been saying it for 15 months. And the only reason I said it is because about 3 years ago, I had a chat with Peter Fury in Bulgaria, and I had one with Mick a bit further on in the week that I was there. Shelley Finkel tied them in knots when Tyson were fighting Vladimir. They were getting paperwork like that sent through to Mick Hennessy's office all the way through, build up to the fight with this clause, that clause, and this altering, that altering. And Mick, don't forget, Mick Hennessy's been in a lot of world title fights. He's involved in Super Six, and Carl Froch. He's been involved in all sorts, hasn't he? The heads were spinning with it, because it were taking up that much of the day to deal with it. And I thought to myself, you know what? If it's true, because Shelley Finkel weren't going on social media and shouting and bawling about stuff and drowning out everybody like Eddie Hearn. He came out and made a simple statement and said, we've got a rematch clause for a third fight. Now, I remember him saying that 2 weeks after Tyson knocked out Wilder, or after Mark Breland threw it towel. So we're still in February. So I logged it at the back of my mind. And I thought back to what Peter Fury had told me. And he said, look, Shelley Finkel's a serious guy. Russ is a Harvard Law graduate. So is Al Heyman, Harvard Law. They both practice law. And Bob Arum, don't forget, he was a lawyer for the IRS. Well, we know that, don't we? So if Bob Arum was struggling with it, when Frank Warren had to pull the show in December with Tyson Fury Caballero, I put it all into my head and I kept thinking, yeah, still going to stick with it, that they've got to fight a third time. Everybody said, Porky, you're a hater. Porky, you're a hater. And other people said, Porky, please don't leave YouTube. But the bottom line is, there's paperwork there signed. Now, they tried to hide behind the pandemic, and I think Eddie Hearn thought it was going to go away, didn't he? And Tyson's not been so keen to fight Wilder, but if they've got a contract, they've either got to be paid up, which they'll want all the lawyers' fees back they spent, plus they'll want something for Wilder not fighting. They've got to be paid up, or they've got to fight. Now, Tyson won't want to get any step aside. Neither will Anthony Joshua, so Tyson's going to have to deal with him. Joshua's got to deal with Usyk, and Eddie Hearn's going to be left roaring, isn't he? Yeah. But what might happen is they might flip and say, you know what, keep all the belts. But there'll still be legal action because they've got to fight. So where I see it heading, Kent, is this. I see Usyk fighting Joshua, and Joshua tucked at ring, kicking and screaming, because we all know that Robert McCracken for years has said, we don't want Wilder, we don't want Luis Ortiz, and we don't want Usyk. They're the three bogeymen. Two of them, Olympian big punching southpaws. Well, Usyk's big punching at cruiser. He's untested at heavy as a puncher, isn't he? And Wilder, a massive freakish puncher. That's all he's really got, though, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Isn't it? So I see Usyk and Joshua fighting, and Eddie saying, God, you're going to have to fight Usyk. This is what they've done. They've backed them into a corner. And I see Tyson fighting Wilder. And I don't think they'll bother Tyson too much. In his head, he'll say, I'll beat him twice. But there's also that possibility, though, that Wilder could catch him. And it could be Timber! What do you think, Ken?
Yes, I had a couple of people saying to me last night about it, that it was all down to WBC. Firstly, this is nothing to do with sanctioning bodies. This is a contract that was signed for a 3-fight deal. Frank Warren said it at Belfast that it was a 3-fight trilogy.
Yeah. He did. Shot his mouth off, didn't he?
Yeah. So that was the only way that they got the fight is if they signed the trilogy. That was it. So now the contract is that he had to fight Wilder next. So he has to fight Wilder next. Why would Al Heyman, PBC, and Deontay Wilder let Eddie Hearn, Bob Arum, their biggest rivals, make near $1 billion fight while they're sitting with nothing? It doesn't make sense. Step aside money. Al Heyman doesn't want step aside money. Deontay Wilder doesn't want step aside money because that still means they're going to make millions upon millions and will have to wait the next year or beyond. No, Al Heyman wants to get as much out of Wilder now that he's been beat as he can. And that's the next fight. Fight.
And it's a big fight.
It's massive. And you've got Wilder now, who has dumped all his coaches. That Diaz guy, Jay Diaz, I don't even know who. That guy hasn't a clue about boxing. I remember watching Deontay Wilder doing a pod session with him, and Deontay Wilder was actually just throwing random shots, and Diaz didn't even say, or Diaz or whatever you call him, didn't even say, here, I'm calling the shots for the pods. He couldn't even take him for a pod session. He's got rid of him, who hadn't a clue, and he's got in former contender, sparring partner, a guy who took a dive for him, and Milik Scott. And he looks like he's been working on some technical things, his balance, his shot selection. He looks pretty decent. You know, Deontay Wilder, Russell, got through his whole career without listening to anyone or doing what he was told or working on technique, and still managed to win the WBC heavyweight world title. Why? He's a massive puncher. And Deontay Wilder has a chance against anybody because of his power. See, to be honest now, we have heard so much nonsense over the last lot of months. We've been actually hearing this for a year. I don't want to see Fury Joshua now. I don't care. I don't want to see it. I'm done with it. I'm totally, you know, Bob Arum went on last night and said everything was good between him and the Joshua camp. It was all good between them. But what he didn't say, it wasn't good on the other side. So he says, we have all done our part. We have all agreed this. We have all done this.
Good on whose side? What he said it wasn't good on whose side? Fury's side.
Yeah, he says Fury's side was good. Joshua's side was good. All their sides had been agreed.
So who did he say he's not good with? Shelley Finkel's lot. Well,
he didn't mention PBC. He didn't mention Al Heyman.
Was he?
No. You know, Al Heyman's business is he gets a lot of revenue on advertising, massive advertising. So why would they let that fight happen without Demons make? No, Al Heyman's not going to go. As I said before, let that fight happen. Demons to make near $1 billion, close to that, the money they're talking, and for Demons to have nothing. Step aside money, no. Step aside money won't cut it. I think if there's any step aside money, he will want at least $25 million, and they're not going to pay that.
Listen, mate, let me tell you this. I'll not be happy till Eddie Hearn's queuing at food banks, mate, so I'm just going to keep plodding with channel.
I don't want to see the fight now. I'm bored of it. I don't want to hear it no more. I'm just sick of it. I would actually rather see now Fury against Wilder, and I actually want to see Joshua against Usyk or Joe Joyce. I don't want to see the big fight. You know, I don't even think it would be a good fight anyway. I don't think the styles would match. I think those other two fights are better fights.
Yeah. Well, we're going to see, aren't we? It's exciting times ahead, Johnny. Rough, tough, rugged, durable, all action, compelling, sizzling, added spice. And do you know what? Those punches, Kent, will pay dividends later on in the rounds.
The body shots.
Beanie. Where have them dead bodies been? Tell us. Just come and hand yourself in at the nearest police station. Let's talk about it. What else do you want to talk about?
Okay, so we've talked about the card at the weekend. We've talked about Joshua. We've talked about the WBA. We've talked about Manuel Char.
He's a knob at him.
Terrible. What else do you want to talk about? It's up to you.
I want to talk about how good looking I am.
Cruiserweight? You're a cruiserweight now, aren't you?
Less than cruiserweight. I don't know. I'm pushing for light heavy.
Light heavyweight.
I'm nearly old cruiserweight weight. I think I'm about 194. Something like that.
The old Johnny Nelson cruiserweight.
Yeah, it was 190, wasn't it? The old one, wasn't it? Yeah.
Carl Thompson.
Yeah. So problem I'm going to have is when I get down to where I want to be, just keep losing weight. Sooner or later, this time next year, if something doesn't happen with this band, I need to get it loosened so I can get something down me. I would have people coming up to me and going like, oh, flicking me in ears. Not like I used to do to people at school. Come here, Porky. Flicking me. Porky, hand your lunch money over. Because she used to take mine off me at school. We're getting all the grandkids coming to fill me in. What do you think is going to happen with Hughie then? Because Hughie's supposed to be on Newcastle show, but there's no confirmed, is there? So what do you think is going to happen there? Do you think Matchroom are going to still continue to work with him, or do you think Hughie's going to end up working with Peter? With Mick again.
I think there's a double contract there. I still see when Peter's on talking. I still see when Peter's on talking. They have their he always wears their tracksuit and Hennessy name's still on it. So
they're still partners, aren't they? Mick and Peter. I'm just saying that Mick didn't have TV at times, so they had to go with his Matchroom.
I think it's good now that Hennessy's back on Channel 5 because McGuigan destroyed that deal and destroyed his whole promotional outfit with what he was doing and how he was treating fighters.
You reckon?
So they give it to Mick. I think Mick got the rest of that deal to fill in the TV dates. It's tricky. You've got, personally, I would like to see maybe Hughie fight somebody like a Martin Bocoli. Martin Bocoli's WBC international champion. I think that would be a good fight. I would like to see him. Something always tells me that I would like to see Hughie fight Pulev again. I would like to see Hughie because, nobody wanted that fight in the first place. They went over to Bulgaria. Pulev looked like, I'd never seen Pulev in that shape before, so there was probably no testing for him over there. Hughie got cut early, and it was a terrible cut. It's just hard reeling that back, and I think if he hadn't had that cut, he could have won that fight. He would have a good chance of winning that fight away from home. So I would like to see Hughie fight either Martin Bocoli, somebody maybe like a Robert Helenius. Robert Helenius is beat Adam Kalinaki, the big PBC ticket seller. So someone like that there, someone with a ranking to get him in, because see the way the sanctioning bodies are, you know that they want to squeeze everything out of titles now. These titles at heavyweight at the minute have not been, there's been no sanction, they're not getting any sanction fees with the way things are. I think the best bet for Hughie would be go down the IBF route, because the IBF are they seem to be the only organization, no matter who you are as a champion, if you're not going to fulfill obligations, they'll strip you. So I think the IBF route, try and get a ranking with the IBF would be good for Hughie, because the way this heavyweight dynamic is that everything's parked up. All the titles are parked up, and it's going to become a time where they need to be free. So something like that there for Hughie would be good. Povetkin, I don't think. Povetkin, after that performance against White's too far gone for anybody. He just looks like a 60-year-old man. So I don't think Povetkin will fight again. So either one of them. It's just if Joshua Fury and Wilder and all them are parked up, the lads behind that, underneath that, are all parked up, because there's nothing happening. There's nothing happening in the division. It's not blowing. So the whole division's near enough parked up.
Yeah. Well, Chisora Parker too is probably a done deal, I've been told at the moment.
That was probably the worst pay-per-view fight I've ever seen. It was terrible. I don't want to watch Derek Chisora against Joseph Parker ever again. It was a terrible fight. I don't want to see. I would rather see like a domestic fight. I don't want to see Joseph Parker. Why are they bringing Joseph Parker from New Zealand or Australia, wherever he's from, over here for pay-per-view when he stinks everything out? He's terrible.
Right. Do you remember what I call him? He's known as the Stinkinator. When you're in somebody's house and somebody's farted and you go, who's farted? No, everybody goes, not me, not me, not me. And Joseph Parker's always one of them. He goes, it was me. We go, oh, not you again. Smelly arse. He's a stinkinator, isn't mate? He's stunk more arenas out than Vladimir Klitschko, and that's saying something, mate.
You know that
Stinkinator.
they're all on saying about the Kronk style and the Kronk this and
Kronk
Kronk
style,
that.
what? Andy Lee, just because Andy Lee trained at the Kronk, does that mean he's going to carry it on? He can't put the Kronk into Parker.
If Joseph Parker walked into the Kronk gym in the 80s, James Toney would have smashed him to pieces, and he was a middleweight, light middleweight. James Toney would have smashed him to pieces. You know, I've never seen a Kronk fighter fight on the back foot the whole fight and flick jabs. That's definitely not the Kronk style. I don't want to see Joseph Parker ever fight again, to be honest. He's coming over here and stealing a living and stealing pay-per-view.
Stealing a living? Doing a bit more than stealing a living, innit? Jeez.
Terrible. I don't know what the value with bringing Joseph Parker over here. He's no value whatsoever. None.
Oh mate, the guy's a crank. You want. He's the Lawrence Okoli of the heavyweight division. Do you know what I mean? He's the Fred Cassie of heavyweights. Remember him, Billy Goat? Fred Cassie. Remember he done Huey Fury, didn't he? With an headbutt, didn't he?
That's right.
He done about 5, hadn't he? Him, Fred Cassie. Nobody wanted to fight him.
Yeah. I would actually rather watch Pavel Sar against Manuel Char in pay-per-view than watch Joseph Parker. That's how bad Joseph Parker is. I don't want to see him in a paper. I don't want to see him fight ever again, to be honest. It's just not for me.
What about Dave Allen versus Lovejoy? Do you think they could put that on? Dennis will put that on as a comeback fight. Dennis could put headline up, couldn't he? A crossroads fight.
That could be a WBF world title fight or a WBU world title fight. So it would. And do you know what? People would actually watch it. People would watch it. Because Lovejoy is so bad, people would actually watch it. So I wouldn't be surprised.
What we need is we need Dennis to put John Fuchs in with Nicky Smedley, because there's a bit of intense beef there going on in Sheffield at the moment. John Fuchs is coming back, isn't he? And Dennis has dug him up, and Nicky Smedley's been training for the last couple of years. And it looks like Nicky wants to fight him on a white collar, and Fuchs wants to do it on border control. So this is what I say: get it on, John Fuchs. Pick up the phone and ring Nicky Smedley and tell me you want to fight. But if you're going to do it, John, do it on a Nicky Smedley show. That'll be a bit of raw beef, wouldn't it? Nicky Smedley and John Fuchs. Local derby.
It would actually probably be better done on an unlicensed, because it'd probably make more money out of it.
Of course they would, yeah. That's what it's all about, isn't it? John Fuchs is not coming back to get punched all over to go on a Dennis show and a ticket deal for 1,500 quid. He might as well come back and get his 10 grand, doesn't he? Fighting on a white collar. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, it'd be commercially better for them, because the board's going to come in and take a cut and do this and do that, where the board don't really protect fighters anyway.
Only cut they want, one straight across there. Off with their heads, all of them. Off with their heads, a lot of them, and we want new people in doing job properly. Because all this old boys brigade, they've got to go. Spent over 900,000 last year on expenses. For what? For what? They didn't pay no taxes. It's all expenses. It's a joke, let me tell you. Utter joke. But I think that's about it, really. Was there anything you wanted to say on Devin Haney and Ben Davidson? Boxer-sized Ben Davidson. The man who exerts himself into every trending story. Good afternoon, Ben. Well, anything you want to say on that?
So we've got Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor's fighting in probably one of the biggest fights in British boxing history.
Yeah, he is.
this is a massive fight for Josh.
Massive, huge.
Massive fight. This is massive. This is two undefeated fighters fighting for the unified, undisputed, all the belts. Josh Taylor is our bet. I rate Josh Taylor as the #1 pound for pound British fighter. He's that good. He's come up. He's done it in record. This could be the quickest undisputed for, I think, a British fighter for sure. I'm not sure if it's a world fighter, but the magnitude of this fight's, the enormity of it's amazing. And really, like, is that really focused for him to be going around, you know, with training, doing sessions with Devin Haney, the whole thing last week in the corner with Mark Tibbs, all that going on? It just doesn't seem like it just doesn't seem that really that seems to be a focused camp getting into this fight. This fight is for Josh Taylor. He needs absolutely zero distractions going on around him. And we've had 2 weeks of absolute madness. It doesn't seem like the ideal preparation for Josh. You know, we said this a long time ago. We said this, you know, there's more trainers on getting interviewed and talking now than fighters. It's not about the coaches. It's not about what other fighters are doing. It's about the boxers. And this weekend is, we're talking about a potential super fight after this against Lopez. And for me, the build-up leading around this is not good.
Yeah, it's not good at all. And I like Josh Taylor. It's not his problem that his trainers, one of them trainers that just networks people and exerts himself in the situation so he can pick up crusts instead of crumbs. Because that's all he is to me. He's just a confidence trickster. Do you remember when he tiptoed into boxing, Ben Davison? He was like in background, wasn't he? Really quiet and all that and shy. Now he's putting himself about, isn't he? But he hasn't done no with anybody from scratch, has he?
You know, it makes this fight at the weekend, it makes it even more pressurized, you know, about the trainer. That there's a lot of pressure on Ben Davison this weekend, and it shouldn't be, because it's not about him. It's about Josh Taylor winning the unifying undisputed title. So it adds something else to it that shouldn't. So I hope Josh Taylor wins convincingly. I think he's a brilliant fighter. He's a brilliant guy. He has been fearless. He has been matched hard from the start. And I hope he wins the undisputed title. I just hope there's no shenanigans or no messing around or no distractions. And the previous distractions, I hope they haven't distracted him too much for this weekend fight. You know, it's not even on terrestrial television. It's not even on a cable network that we know about, which is absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
He doesn't deserve that. You don't do what Josh Taylor's done in boxing, from an amateur right up to a professional in that amount of time. And, you know, that fight isn't even featured anywhere. You know, it's on a pay-per-view channel, but nobody probably really knows it's even on that in the first place. That show should be on. You know, we have had, for instance, who would you rather watch on pay-per-view? Derek Chisora with 11 losses against Joe Bugner, Joseph Parker, or watch a brilliant fight with an undefeated Mexican fighter and Josh Taylor, who's the pound for pound #1 fighter in Britain, fighting for the undisputed title?
You want Josh Taylor on, wouldn't you?
Why would you put that other nonsense on instead of that? It's baffling. It's absolutely baffling.
It is. Okie dokie then. Thank you for coming on, Kent. You're always a good addition to the Porky Express train. Top man.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, we're growing now channel. Everybody's sharing it videos. I want to thank everybody for sharing them. from the bottom of my heart. We have people sharing it videos. We won't be able to climb it, and it only takes a few minutes to send them, doesn't it, to put in your WhatsApps and your Twitters and all that. So thank you very much for taking time out.
Russell, I just want to say that your video with Peter De Freitas at the weekend was absolutely brilliant. I remember him from years. I seen him in the background for years. The problem with boxing now is because people like Peter aren't involved in boxing anymore. That's why boxing, the way it is, it was absolutely brilliant. It was probably the best podcast video I've ever seen about boxing, and it was, his energy was absolutely brilliant. And I remember all them fights. I watched all them fights growing up as a kid. They're the fights that got me watching boxing. You know, they were on terrestrial TV. I remember the McLennan-Ben fight. I actually bought a book about it called War Baby. It's a brilliant book. And the build up to that fight was savage. You know, not one pundit give Ben a chance in the pre-fight build up, none of them. And he went out there and done, you know, it was a tragic fight. It was so tragic. And he won at the end. You know, I always thought that McLennan was never probably the same after the Julian Jackson fight. You know, he fought Julian Jackson just before that. And as we know, Julian Jackson was a monstrous puncher. So he dumped his trainer, he dumped Manny Stewart because he didn't want to pay him. They brought in some bag carrier. He hadn't even done pads before. They moved up the weight and they struggled to even do the weight because the camp didn't know what they were doing. But the build up to that fight, I remember seeing Ben running in Mount Tidy with the arm weights and leg weights on, and I couldn't, it was amazing watching it. So yeah, Peter, if he's watching this, brilliant video. I've watched it twice. The stories were absolutely brilliant. And I hope he's doing well in his battle with cancer.
Yeah, hopefully I'll see him at some point this week, because I think I'm going to be going down there this week at some point. So hopefully I'll see Peter this week. He's battling cancer, but he's a nice guy. And I got on with him and I knocked that script up in 5 minutes flat. Saturday I got here. At 20 to. I phoned him to say we'll be on Zoom at 1. I had to go running around in factory, got some paper at Townie's office, brought it up here, jotted a few things down, and just went with flow. And he spoke that elegantly and that truthfully that I just let him. I did a Clint Eastwood. Just let him roll with it. We'll just go with it.
I noticed that. I noticed you did that, but the way it went, it just gelled so well. The stories were amazing. His knowledge. And even his knowledge now, you normally find guys that have been involved in boxing back in the day, they're kind of not too in touch with it now. He's on the button.
Of course he is. Yeah. You've got to understand, Nigel Benn, did he have about 10 title defences with WBC, and Peter De Freitas were all the way through with him. Do you know what I mean? So so you've got to give him credit. I know there was a bit bad blood when Nigel Benn got rid of Jimmy Tibbs, didn't he? And I don't know if you know this, when Mark Tibbs obviously were a young man when this happened, but him and his dad was sat ringside and Nigel Benn got put through ropes, didn't he, in first round. Mark Tibbs was jumping up, one cheering. And Nigel Benn put it in his book or something, that he weren't happy about that. And Mark Tibbs was a young man then, he's going to back his dad. And the good as gold now, but, you know, obviously you get a bit of beef, don't you, in boxing and things like that. If my dad were a boxing trainer, I'd be upset if that happened to him. You're going to side with your dad. So, but you know, there were all sorts of subplots going on. There's Nigel Benn. He's got all Essex boys walking him into.
That's right. Tony Tucker and Pat Tate.
Yeah, they're Craig Rolfe. They all got shot dead later on that year, didn't they? So about 10 months later, they were shot. 9-10 months later. There were McClellan there. He got rid of Manny Stewart and he got that Stan Richards in corner walking around with Popeye the Sailor Man hat on. And what were all that about? Brendan Ingle were in corner that night as well. it sold out, didn't it, in 2 days, didn't it, as well?
It was massive. I think that Russell was the last big card on ITV. I think
Yeah.
it was the last of the deal. There was also a lot of talk about
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
McLennan.
whoa, whoa, whoa! You forgot about Carl Froch against Matthew Barney. I'm only joking. Yeah, go on, sorry.
Matthew Barney from Pompey. Yeah, I seen him. I remember him fighting Tony Oki fighting Tony Oki for a WBU title. But
Yeah.
that whole the build up to that fight was savage. It was
Oh, there was
absolutely
something in
savage.
there was something in the air that night. What you could feel it.
And
Two big punches.
I remember I was out playing, and my dad says, "Get in the night, such a time the boxing's on, Nigel Benn's on." And I was out playing, and I got home and sat down in front of the television, and the build up to that fight, Jim Rosenthal was unbelievable. On the way he built those fights up, and they talked about it in the clips. I don't think there's any broad. They all say about high grade Sky boxing is not. I don't think they're a patch on ITV. Honestly, I don't think they're anywhere near as good as what ITV were at the build-ups and the presentation.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, Ken. You are probably right. So, okay then. Well, listen, I'm going to get off and get this uploaded and probably get it out later and do what I've got to do. So, you take care and I'll see you again. Thanks for coming on, Ken.
Bullseye.
Pardon?
Bullseye.
Okay, what's that mean?
Bullseye.
Busy, you mean? Yeah. All right then.
See you later.
See you, mate. Bye. Won't turn off.